One of the nation's toughest anti-trans bills is now law in Kentucky.
The left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse.
Texas, now the largest state to block gender-affirming care for transgender children. The law going into effect today.
This needs to end. In the next 20 years, I want to see a national legal protection of access to gender-affirming care for transgender people. I hope that anyone watching this video can understand why it is so important for us to push to pass pro-transgender legislation and to ban anti-transgender legislation.
As parents, all we really want for our children is for them to be happy and healthy. Prior to receiving gender-affirming care and socially transitioning, my child was not happy and was not able to be his true self.
I hope that anyone watching can gain an understanding for why it is so crucial to push through pro-trans legislation and to prevent anti-trans legislation from being passed.
Out of all the issues in the world, House Republicans decided that on our very first day back, our very first bill would be a trans bullying bill.
I want everyone to be free to express however they want so that they can live the best life they possibly can. Here in my home state of Rhode Island, we have a very supportive transgender healthcare system. We can look at the system we have in place here to see what we can do to improve our national system. The Thunder Miss Health Center is a prominent healthcare provider here in Rhode Island for transgender people. They are led by a group of gender diverse individuals to allow them to have a first-hand viewpoint of what gender-affirming care should be like. They aim to knock down unnecessary barriers to accessing this necessary healthcare.
Guaranteed access to best practice medical care determined by doctors and their professional associations, and letting the people with lived experience who would be most impacted lead on those issues would really be the ideal.
We have recently seen so many attacks on the ability for transgender people to access potentially life-saving gender-affirming care, which is why it is so necessary for us to take the practices in place at Thunder Mist Health Center and apply them out to a national scale to ensure that the treatment provided is right for the person receiving it, whether that be medical or not.
Trans people are people. Treat them with dignity and respect.
People's rights are actively being taken away from them by bills that are permitted to pass in our country built on the fundamental ideology of freedom.
In state news, the bill banning transgender transitioning for children is now law. Governor Abbott signed SB 14. It stops minors from receiving treatment like puberty blockers and hormone therapy.
We cannot sit passively and allow for anti-trans legislation to be proposed and passed. We must push for passing legislation that actively protects transgender people's rights, or else anti-trans supporters will continue to push for restricting them. Unfortunately, one bill that does just this is the Ohio House Bill 68, which prohibits transgender youth from accessing best practice, medically necessary health care in defiance of expert advice of every major medical association.
We've seen a lot of similar movements in the past start with a Protect the Children banner, because that's where you can get people engaged, especially if they don't necessarily have understandings of the issues. We all want to keep our kids and our young people safe, but that's, not the end goal of the campaign against care for transgender people.
In the past few years, we have seen a massive uptick in the number of anti-trans bills proposed, with more than 4 times the number of bills proposed in 2023 compared to 2022. This increase can be seen even more dramatically when looking exclusively at anti-healthcare bills. In 2023, there were more anti-healthcare bills than there were in 2019, 20, 21, and 22 combined. And already 1 month into 2024, there are 273 active anti-trans bills, and that number is only expected to increase.
We have to do a better job of protecting the kids in this state and frankly across the country. Kids are not capable of making life-altering decisions like that.
I need to be given therapy to help me work through my issues, not affirm to my delusion that by transforming into a boy, it would solve all my problems.
Minors are only being provided the healthcare that is appropriate for them and with their parents' consent. Unfortunately, there will always be people like Chloe Cole who do detransition, but this is not a fault of the healthcare system. In fact, the regret rate for getting gender-affirming surgery was found in a 2021 study to be as low as 1%, and a 2023 study found that number to be as low as 0.3%.
it's pretty safe to say that programs who are providing care for young folks are going through processes to screen them and really develop a care plan.
Many anti-trans arguments are rooted in misinformation, which is why advocacy is so important and why I encourage everyone to be vocal, be supportive, get to know your local lawmakers, and vote for officials who are pro-trans rights. The way to make change is to come together as a community and promote education and awareness. Together, we can make this happen. And for anyone who is in the financial place to do so, I encourage donating to a reputable charity such as the Trevor Project, which is where I will personally be donating half of any of the winnings I earn from this competition. If we can come together as a community, we can protect the access to gender-affirming care for transgender people in the next 20 years.